I was born in the East, adopted and raised in the West, in a home away from home, proud citizen of the Protectorate. When I decided to search for my roots, I knew things would change. Things did change. Do I regret my choice? Maybe. Do I regret boarding the Herald? No.
Hello everyone, this is Nyessa, and welcome to the Kickstarter demo for Herald, an interactive period drama. So Herald is a game that's currently on Kickstarter, but it only has a few days left, so if at the end of this video you find this demo interesting, go ahead and follow the link below to the Kickstarter page so that you can contribute and make this game a reality. Herald is basically a choice-driven point-and-click adventure game, and it's set in an alternate 19th century. During the game, we'll be playing as this young man right here, Devin Rensburg, and we'll be making decisions that he faces while he's doing his job aboard the Herald. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the demo and take a look at one of the decisions that he has to make during the game. Please continue your story, Devin. You told me that it was night aboard the Herald. You were looking for a missing gun. Tell me what happened next. What does your journal say? So here we are in Devin's journal. And one thing that I noticed when I was doing a quick playthrough of the demo before recording this is that the notes in the journal go from bottom to top. So we'll read it this way, starting with the main note for the quest. There's a gun missing aboard the Herald. The boatswain has asked me to find the thief before the captain does. If he finds out, we'll all be in trouble. So, I was told by the boatswain that the captain has forbidden all crew members to bear arms, even officers. My investigations have led me to the cabin of First Officer Rupert Brunswick. I should sneak in while he is running his shift. One of the crew members told me that Officer Brunswick hides a spare key somewhere near his cabin. So that is what we have to deal with today. But let's take a look at the rest of Devin's journal before we start looking for this missing gun. So here's the note section. Here is the encyclopedia, which is currently empty, but you'll see that there are sections for people, the Herald itself, documents, pictures, antiques, and everyday items. Then we have a map of the ship. We have the crew quarters, the forecastle, the poop deck. That is... Actually, the crew quarters are not on this deck. This is the top deck. Then the weather deck has the captain's cabin, the saloon, the officer hall, Brunswick's room, and Ludlow's room. So this is where we are right now. Then there's the tween deck, which has the workshop, galley, crew quarters, Lewis's room, tween deck hall, and Garrick's room. And then the cargo hold doesn't have a map at this point. So that's it for Devin's journal. Now let's take a look around where we are right now. Let's see, there are a couple different things we can click on. The barrels were filled with rum. I wouldn't be surprised if these were placed there on special request. So one thing that I really like about what I've seen so far is the portrait animation here. I'm really a fan of this style. So that was a barrel of rum, not really important at the moment. The pitcher contained a spare key to Brunswick's cabin. I was now able to open the door behind me. This is important. But there's more of the room to look at, so we can move over here. The closet was closed. I wondered what skeletons it was hiding. It was a peculiar place for a sink. I suspect it didn't fit in the officers' cabins. God forbid that officers have to use the same one as the rest of us. And then we have a few doors here. This one is locked. This one belongs to Aaron Ludlow. Leave me alone, I'm tired. Today's been a long day. So as I understand it, Ludlow here is a friend of Devon's, and as well as being the man who recruited him for his current job aboard the Herald. So it looks like this is the only door left to us. Let's go ahead and take a look. So here we are in Brunswick's room. And let's take a look at his desk over here. So we have some books. A small collection of astronomy books betrayed Brunswick's fascination with the celestial bodies. Maybe this was the secret to his success as a navigator. And there were books about navigation, geography, mathematics, and poetry. None of them looked very interesting to me. Let's see, there's the Merchant Navy's Handbook. Looking through the Merchant Navy's Handbook, I discovered that officers are usually allowed to carry guns, but members of the crew aren't. And the relevant article is this here, Article 5. Every officer in the Merchant Navy, from the time of his joining the ship to which he shall be appointed, to that of his being discharged from it, is allowed to carry a firearm while performing his duties, and is to keep said arm at all times clean and in good condition. So we see that the captain's orders go against the rules from the Merchant Navy's Handbook. And we'll take a look at the journal in a moment, but first let's look at the other items on the desk. I got the sudden urge to write something obscene in one of Brunswick's books, but I realized that this was an incredibly stupid idea. Yes, that would be a very bad idea. I get the impression that Devon may not like Brunswick very much. I wondered if Brunswick's moral compass was as trustworthy as the one on his desk. On the writing slope lay a detailed map of the African coast, the sea full of lines, markings, and notes I didn't understand. It seemed that the captain had a discussion with Officer Brunswick about gun policy. The letter also talked about a draft coming from the bookcase in Brunswick's room. So this is a little bit hard to read, but I will give it a shot. Dear Brunswick, I was pleased to hear that you agree with me that the official guidelines regarding gun policy are outdated. Thus I have decided to reserve the use of firearms for emergencies only. On a side note, you might have noticed a draft coming from the bookcase in your room. There's a loose plank there that needs to be fixed. Until then, it should not be much of a problem if you put a couple of books against it. Yours sincerely, Cornelius Hendricks. And I believe that's all that we can look at on the desk. So let's go ahead and take a look at the journal and see what's been added. So I found a spare key to Brunswick's cabin. I should be able to enter it now. I read in the Merchant Navy Handbook that all officers are allowed to bear arms aboard a merchant vessel. I found a letter from the captain that said there was a loose plank in Brunswick's bookcase. So I think there were more notes added than there are actually here. So I wonder if that means that something was added to the encyclopedia? Maybe not. Ah, compass. Out at sea, a compass is an invaluable piece of equipment. Such a delicate object is not only useful for plotting your course, but is also a status symbol among sailors of good birth. This specific compass once belonged to Sir Francis Beaufort, the inventor of the Beaufort scale of wind measurement. Okay. Anything else? No, we didn't look at any pictures. Documents. So we have the Navy Handbook. This 378 pages long handbook details all the rules a sailor enlisted in the Merchant Navy needs to know. Breaking any rule can result in harsh punishment, such as a beating with a cane, or even a whipping with the feared cat-o'-nine-tails. Ugh. Not something I would ever want to go through. A sea chart. Reliable sea charts became more and more important as the Protectorate expanded its territory. So the Protectorate is part of this alternate world that we're exploring in the game. In the 1820s, Brunswick got to lead an expedition that would chart the depths and currents of the Southern Hemisphere. It was a huge success and resulted in this detailed nautical map of the African coast. So that's it for documents. And that's it for the encyclopedia. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of the room. We'll have to move over here to change the view. So we have several paintings on the wall and this bookcase. Let's look at the paintings first. A painting of the night sky was hanging on the wall. The use of colors was striking. One of the paintings on Brunswick's wall was a depiction of the Battle of Scheveningen, the final battle of the Anglo-Dutch War. Another part of that alternate history, I believe. And one of the paintings depicted 3 white boys playing with a ball on a sunlit square. So let's see what that new note was. Nope. Did not mean to do that. Okay, back over to this corner. Open up the journal. And here we go, the encyclopedia. And see how this section for pictures is highlighted now. Naval War Painting. This painting depicts the final battle of the Anglo-Dutch War, also known as the Battle of... Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that either. Protectorians take pride in their history of naval warfare. Was it not for their maritime conquest, the modern-day Protectorate would have never existed. Okay, so now let's take a look at the bookcase. On the top shelf stood a portrait of a stern-looking man. I later learned it was Brunswick's mother. Right. I was surprised to find Brunswick's spyglass in here. You'd think a navigator would take that with him at all times. The entire bookcase was devoted to poetry. Among them were some of the most famous works by Shakespeare, Byron, and Poe. And... okay. A loose board was cleverly hidden behind a couple of books. Okay, so here's the loose board. Behind the loose wallboard was a cleverly hidden compartment containing a single booklet. It seemed to be Brunswick's journal. This should be important. While going through Brunswick's journal, I stumbled upon a passage about a hole in the wall that was covered with a painting. So let's take a look at this entry for Monday, April 6th, 1857. I had all but forgotten about that hole in the wall, rediscovering it only when I wanted to move a painting. Naturally, that means the painting has to stay where it is, even if it does look better on the opposite wall. I have decided against informing Ludlow about the hole as to not raise unnecessary discomfort. Then that line is cut off. Of course, as Captain Hendrick so often emphasizes, he is responsible to know of all that takes place aboard his ship. On the other hand, it does not feel right to betray a fellow officer for something that, by my judgment, does not endanger the functioning of the crew or ship in any way. Meanwhile, Ian is doing wonderfully, his comprehension of navigational principles growing by the day, and I think that's all that we can see of the journal. So, let's go ahead and pull back from the bookshelf and take a look at our own journal here. Brunswick wrote in his journal that there was a hole in the wall behind one of the paintings. And then there's a new entry in the encyclopedia for the spyglass. The invention of the spyglass was a natural follow-up to the invention of the telescope, and any navigator, even one as good as Officer Brunswick, needs one. For some reason, though, Brunswick left this one in his cabin. It is possible that it's of special value to him. Okay, well, let's take a look behind this painting then. The painting seems to have been moved recently. Behind it was a small gap between the planks. And let's take a look through this little gap here into the room that belongs to our friend Aaron Ludlow. There he is. What's that? Uh-oh. Waving a gun around, not really a good sign. Is there someone spying on me? Let's see, I could apologize. I could say I didn't know what to say. I could accuse him of stealing the gun. Well, he's our friend, so I think this is going to be a bit awkward. ... I know you're there, Brunswick. I can hear you breathe through the wall. That's a little creepy. Have you done this before? Because I'm gonna apologize at this point. No. I never knew this was here. I'm sorry. Devin! What are you doing in there? Are you snooping around? I didn't expect you to be that kind of person. Okay, I'm gonna go for the truth. I told Ludlow that I was searching for a missing gun. No, I'm looking for a missing gun, and I think I just found it. Come into my cabin. I'll unlock the door for you. Alright. We'll take a look at the journal. I was caught snooping by Officer Ludlow, but convinced him to talk to me in his cabin. Let's go see what he has to say for himself. And is there anything else we can look at in the room, or is it just... No. We can only talk to him, which makes sense under the circumstances. Before you start, please listen to me, Devon. I know it's against the captain's rules and all, but some rules are there to be broken. Well, according to the Kickstarter page, Ludlow here is supposed to be our friend, so let's ask him if he's alright. Are you willing to explain to me what's wrong? You seem troubled. I'm fine, don't worry. I wasn't secretly plotting to go on a killing spree tonight, but you never know, I might change my mind. I told Ludlow that I was worried. I'm just a little worried, Ludlow. What are you actually going to do with that thing? I hope you're not trying to... I'm not suicidal. It's just not fair, Devon. I know the Merchant Navy Handbook from cover to cover. It says clearly that every officer is allowed to bear arms. Every officer, Devon. I'm an officer, so why don't I get to exercise my right to board the Herald? So I can ask why it's important to him. I can ask why the captain banned guns, or I can agree with him. I don't really know much of what's going on at this point, so I'm going to ask why the captain has banned guns. Have you even asked the captain why he banned guns? Supposedly something about old and outdated policies. But honestly, Devon, I don't really care about the gun. I just want the captain to know that if Brunswick gives up his rights, it doesn't automatically mean that I'll give up mine as well. For some reason, I'm always expected to do as the white man does. I'm never trusted to make my own decisions. Sometimes I feel like I'm an officer in nothing but name. Okay, so we can tell him to return the gun, say that we're going to report him, or tell him to hide it. And I think we're going to go for a middle-of-the-road approach here and tell him to return the gun. You won't achieve any recognition by breaking the captain's rules. If an officer wants respect, he has to deserve it. I won't tell anybody you took the gun, but only if you return it to the weapons cache. If you do, then do it now, before the shift changes and everyone wakes up. Uh-oh. I'm afraid it's too late for that. So it seems the captain has been listening in on our little discussion here. So that was the demo for Herald, a game that's currently on Kickstarter. If you're interested in contributing to the Kickstarter campaign, go ahead and follow the link below, and I'll probably add an annotation on the video itself as well. I, for one, would certainly like to see this game become a reality, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with it, what the rest of the game will entail. It seems to me that it's not a very puzzle-oriented point-and-click adventure games like many of the others that I've played, but it's more focused on choices and story, and really, most games that I play for the story more than anything else. So, I hope you enjoyed this demo, and I hope that if you can, you will contribute to the Kickstarter, and maybe when this game comes out eventually, we'll see the full thing on the channel. So, I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you back in the game.